It is a great privilege to be here this afternoon, so thank you all for kind of taking the time out to come and listen to the speaker slot. What I want to do to kind of this afternoon is to share with you kind of some of my journey so far, and as I say, for that journey, I have very gratefully been given and awarded a UK Female Entrepreneur Ambassador Award. And part of that award is about sharing my story and hopefully inspiring some others to kind of move forward, and whether they set up their own businesses or genuinely just kind of believe in themselves. So what I want to do today is share some of that with you. So a little bit about me. It's always rude to ask a lady her age, but in this case I'm really happy to share. I am actually a 39-year-old grandmother. So part of my life's journey was that I was a teenage mum. So that's my daughter, that's my granddaughter, Lee, and behind that is my little boy. So I've kind of got two stages in my life. I have a 6-year-old and a 23-year-old. And so, so as I say, I started out my life as a teenage mum, and quite frankly, it could have gone very differently for me. I could have sort of ended everything then and taken a different route, but actually, hearing the words of someone that was very close to me, that I was a disappointment now that I was kind of a teenage mum, actually made me feel very, very determined to do something very differently. And so really this became my mantra, that quite frankly you can do anything that you want if you really do believe in it enough. And that kind of stuck with me. As I performed this juggling act in my life, I went back to study, albeit I had to do it differently. So I didn't go to kind of university full-time. I studied part-time, but continued, as I say, to study. And then also, I climbed the corporate ladder. Again, I had this little critic in me, on my shoulder, that was constantly saying, come on, you need to prove them wrong, and you need to prove that you can do something different. And so, as I say, I studied and climbed the corporate ladder, and ended up holding a number of very senior roles within some large PLC organisations. So it can be done, and I think that was one of the reasons why they gave me the award. And then I guess kind of the third phase of my life started really in 2008. So after the birth of my little boy, I decided that actually it was time for me to kind of be super brave and set up my own business. And so in 2008, I set up Jungle HR. So HR, being human resources, was my corporate background. And I decided that, quite frankly, it was a jungle out there, which is why, as I say, my business got the name that it did. And it has been the most fantastic journey since I set up my organisation. We won in September of this year a National Business Award, which I'm absolutely thrilled with, as Best Business Enabler. And to achieve that, we have worked with some fantastic and prestigious clients, so Weetabix, IRI, just to name a couple of them. And through our projects that we have delivered with those businesses, we have enabled them to save £3.75 million. So, some real significant achievements. And I have to say, there are times that I walk into those businesses and I really have to pinch myself. Little old me, teenage mum, somebody that said, gosh, you're a disappointment. And we are working with some great clients like that. And it is about having that kind of inner belief within yourself. It's also really important for us, as I say, part of being an entrepreneur, and you'll find this with many entrepreneurs, that they call it philanthropist, and I can't say the word very well, but it is about giving back, and it is about raising money for charity, or about kind of giving time and having conversations with, you today, and later on this next week coming, I'm doing some similar kind of talks at colleges and universities, and those things are really important to entrepreneurs, about making that difference as well. So when you embark upon a kind of being an entrepreneur, what is it? What's it all about? And as I say, I do wish that somebody had been kind of giving me a talk and helping and inspiring me, because at times it was really tough. But the most important thing that all of these people have in common, and any entrepreneur for that matter, how big or small, is they all have a dream. And it is so important that we don't let anybody else take that dream away from us. It's in our head, it's in our hearts, and it is going to be really, really important that we have that. I was very, very privileged early on in September, so earlier this year, to attend an event where Sir Chris Hoy was on the stage. And one of the things that really struck me about him was, he was just an ordinary boy. And from about the age of 6, he described that, he loved his BMX bike. And when he was at these sort of local playing with his friends, they said to him, "What's your dream?" And he said, "My dream is to be an Olympic champion." And people laughed at him. But he held really tight to that dream. And you kind of ask yourself, who's the one that's laughing now? All of these people here, some of them you will know, Facebook, Microsoft. Microsoft, Bill Gates' dream was that every household would have a computer with Microsoft on it. And I would probably guess that he's pretty much achieved that. So one of the things you need to ask yourself is, what is your dream? Be clear about that and don't let anybody take that away from you. And it's about then moving towards that dream. One of the things that I'm privileged to do is I work a lot with executive boards and leadership teams, either on a one-on-one basis or as a group. And it never ceases to amaze me that these people are actually human as well, and they all have their feelings. And one of the things that they do is we have what we call a limiting belief. And it's about saying, do you know what, I'm kind of not good enough. Or there's also this thing that's called imposter syndrome that says, actually, one day I might get found out. So I use this tool, and it's called the Tree of Beliefs, and it really starts to help you to think about gaining that personal awareness. So what's going on for you when you have these interactions? So in terms of our tree of beliefs, if we think of our person as a tree, then the leaves represent our behaviours. So are we confident, or actually are we quite shy? Are we forward? Are we happy, as I say, to go and introduce ourselves? Again, being an entrepreneur, you will have to go out and meet people. You'll have to network. If it's not your natural kind of preference, what is it that you need to do in order sort of to develop those skills? We have our feelings. So do we feel frightened? Do we feel scared? Do we feel brave? Do we feel excited? It's about being aware. What is going on for us when we're having these interactions with others? And finally, our attitudes. So, our attitude kind of really does define what we do. So do we have a can-do attitude? So yes, I can do this. Or actually, do we have an attitude that says, no, I can't do this? If I think about when I was setting up my business, there were real times that I was really scared, and I just thought to myself, gosh, I'm not sure I can achieve this. And actually, I had a damn good talk to myself, and I said, yeah, you can, and we have. So it is about, as I say, having that belief. And finally, as I say, this sort of conditioning. So part of this is about, where do we come from and what support do we get around us, which, as I say, we'll talk to. And this is a tool that I use a lot with executive boards to help them to think about what's holding them back. Which part of this tree do they need to start and work for and towards to build and develop? Brands are really important, and I'm going to kind of say labels as well. So, I love this slide, and really it is just a combination of words. So if I say to you apple, most of you won't think of a green thing on a tree. You will think of an iPhone or an iPad, because it is now an iconic brand and it means something. If you think about Beckham or Jobs, again, you'll be thinking of that kind of iPhone thing. For each and every one in this room, you really need to think about what is your personal brand. If you had to describe yourself in 1 or 2 words, what would you give yourself? What words would you use? How would you describe yourself? And actually, how would others describe you? What do you want to be known for? So your brand is really important. And part of that comes with some labels that we get attached to us. So in a personal life, if I think about labels that are attached to me, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a mother, I'm a wife. I was a single mum, I was a teenage mum, I'm now a grandmother. So all of these labels have attached to me. And again, I'd encourage you to think about what labels are attached to you. And actually, how well do you want them to kind of stick to you? Do they serve you well, or actually do you need to change them? And as we move into our corporate life, equally, we will have labels attached to us. So think about all of the jobs that mums and dads, as are sat in the audience, that you do. Are you a manager? Are you a supervisor? Are you a leader? Again, all of these are kind of labels. And I have to say, I'm very proud to now have the label of entrepreneur, because for me, it represents another phase of my life. But I think one thing that's important, and it says there, is don't be typecast. That label for me of teenage mum could have taken me in a very different direction. So I think it is really important that you wear the label with pride that you want it to be. Consider your brand. As I say, organisations have to work very, very hard to have strong brands. And so equally, again, you will, when you go out in that big wide world, whether it be you work for an organisation or whether you work for yourself, you will need to represent yourself so that you are attractive enough for somebody to want to employ. So how are you going to stand out from the others? It's important not to ask permission. This is you. This is not someone else. You're not waiting for someone to tell you that it's okay to be or do these things. It's your time, and it's entirely up to you. And the final bit on this slide is practice, practice, practice. It won't come overnight. And quite frankly, there may be times that you have to fake it. But it is just about, as I say, the more that you do what it is that you want to become, the more it will become natural for you. One of the great books that I have read more recently, and sadly I didn't write it, I wish I had, and it's called Mashup. Very strange title, but I can't recommend it enough. What it is essentially saying is that actually there is no such thing as a career for life anymore, and there is no such thing as a linear career path, or very few. And actually, life is a bit of a mashup. And it's a combination of layering our skills and techniques and abilities over some of our hobbies and what we're inspired about. So life isn't black and white. Your careers won't be black and white. So it is about, as I say, learning to look at the technicolor, think about your skills, think about how you can make them work for you. And as I say, I can't recommend that book enough for people to have a look at. There's loads of practical examples for you to think about in there. Very inspiring. I think as you move through your life generally, as well as being an entrepreneur, you will find that there are essentially two types of people that you are likely to come across. Unfortunately, there are the drains. So the people that, you will share ideas with, and they will constantly say to you, oh, no, you don't want to do that. Oh, no, that's a bit of a risk. That's boring. That's not you. And you will feel like they are sucking all of the excitement out of you. And after a while, they really do become a drain on your energy and your ability to kind of be who you are. What you need to do is to focus on attracting and being with those radiators. So those people in your life, whether it be your parents, whether it be your friends, whether it be people at college, universities, a club, or wherever, or for me, I'm a member of an entrepreneur circle, and they are absolute radiators for me. I'm fully inspired when I go and see them. They help me with my ideas, and it's about kind of definitely not being afraid to ask for help. When you're an entrepreneur, there are so many things that are going on in your head. You kind of need some help to make them become real and grounded. So definitely make sure you think about who your radiators are and actually who your drains are. And as I say, limit your time with those drains, because they will just kind of suck you away. So finally, I think it really is important, and my top tips to you are focus on what you want to do, who you are, what you want to do, and write it down. Because when you write it down, you're making kind of that commitment, whether it be to yourself. You can look at it and go, oh, no, it's a bit silly. Let's think about something else. But write it down and make that commitment. Remember, you are what you emit is what you attract. So ultimately, if you are there going, I can't do this, well, quite frankly, you probably won't. But if you then focus on actually what can I do instead, then you're starting to shift and change your mindset. It's really important. Don't let any of those limiting beliefs hold you back. It's really important that you have to believe, certainly if you're an entrepreneur, you have to believe in you. There are so many highs being an entrepreneur, and equally there are a lot of lows. And in there, as I say, you have to have this belief that it is going to happen, and you're going to make a difference, and believe in that dream. And as it says there, believe in yourself, be really brave. I have to say, setting up my business, was probably one of the bravest things that I did. But I have to say, I wish I'd done it years ago. It's brilliant. I've had so much fun. It's given me so much more time. I think I'm completely unemployable, I have to say now. But I just love being kind of the master of my own destiny. I personally can't recommend it enough. So I hope that's been useful. For all those technophobes, you can follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook. But I'm really happy to answer any questions if anybody's got any.
So did you work in HR in the corporate world before you decided to make your business out in that?
Yes, I did, yeah. So started out my career very early on in the NHS doing administration, where I kind of had to look after personnel files as they were at the time. Yeah, and that's where it kind of got my passion from for HR and grew as I moved through into the corporate world. But absolutely, so for me, when I set up my business, it was about what am I good at? What's my passion, and how can it help me to earn some money? Yeah, thank you.
Do you actually employ anybody as well?
At the moment, because my business is in quite sort of a fledgling state, for want of a better word, I work on what we call an associate model. Where I have particular projects, I will work with other individuals who have got those sort of skill sets and bring them into the project. But it's very much my vision, so my dream, to kind of build my business. So yes, I then will be employing people directly. But at the moment, it's this associate model, and it seems to work quite well. Thank you. Any more questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much.